A Premier Wine Festival kicks off in the heart of Johannesburg this coming Wednesday. Now in its 19th year, the RMB WineX will showcase more than 800 fine wines, brandies and Cape Ports. Barrel art will also be up for grabs. The art initiative promotes the natural creative synergy between art and winemaking. To tell us more, I'm joined in studio by Patson Matonsi and Carolyn Waterhouse from RMB. And also joining us via Skype is Michael Fridgen, and he's the director of WineX Festival. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I guess it's happy hour somewhere in the world, okay, so we may as well catch up. Yeah. Michael, let me start with you. Was this always part of the plan, 19 years going strong and solid?
Absolutely. It's an event that has a long history, and my involvement with wine goes back a very long time, as should be evident just by looking at my face. So once WineX started, it was certainly our intention to make it an event that became a feature on the annual calendar and should be with us for as long as wine is.
Definitely. Carolyn, let's talk about RMB's involvement in this.
Well, it's been a partnership going back almost 2 decades now with Michael and Janice, his wife, and their superb team. We've watched it grow. Excitingly, we've watched the diversity kick in at WineX. And wine is very much a lifestyle interest to some people, whether it's owning a wine farm, whether it's drinking wine, whether it's using wine, around a wonderful table and helping friendships along. But on the subject of wine, Patson's really the expert. He's the sommelier. I can tell you more about RMB. He can tell you more about wine.
Yes. You are the man to talk about this deliciousness that we see here. It smells divine as well. Yes. So tell us about what we have here.
Firstly, I always say never say no to champagne, or never say no to bubbles.
It is champagne.
You know, so we might as well continue. Right. So firstly, in front of us, we've got 2 wines here. The first one is the Boschendal Brut Chardonnay Pinot Noir, which is a method Cape Classique. They actually use the same method as in Champagne. Obviously we can't call it Champagne because it's not from Champagne. But I think RMB WineX, is one of the biggest South African wine events. A go-to wine event every year. Right. And that's where you almost showcase everything that we actually make in South Africa in terms of bubbles. So, like I said, this for me is a breakfast bubbly, and it's really an amazing bubbly with some oysters, especially with oysters with a little bit of salt and pepper and Tabasco, because it's got a lovely fruitiness to it. Lots of
just feeling the bottle is so cold. How important is it that it's cold?
It's very, very important. Otherwise the only thing that you're going to be testing is acid without any lovely fruit to it. So being cold, it's also refreshing, especially in the morning, with your breakfast. You can have it with scrambled eggs.
See, I've always
Not
said,
a problem at all.
There we go. Thank you for vindicating me, Patson. Michael, let me come to you. In terms of the selection of wines and people that actually exhibit at the WineX, how particular are you with that?
Well, when it comes to wine producers, we feel that that's their platform. So as long as it's a legitimate wine producer making good wine, we're very keen to welcome them there. They obviously need a forum. They need to get to the community of wine drinkers, and that's what WineX provides. If we go beyond wine to accessories around wine or anything else, we're very particular in the sense that we don't want to turn this into a great big fair. It's very focused on wine and those things of quality around wine, whether it be glassware, decanters, or just the natural complements, olive oil, olives. Those things have to fit into a model which says this is a high-quality show. It's a show that we want to keep accessible to people who want to engage with wine, but we don't want to turn it into a great big food and wine event in which wine becomes the minority interest.
Sure. Patson, he speaks of the glassware that you use. You've got 2 different glasses here. Talk to us about what
so this is Riedel glassware, which will be available for sale at the RMB WineX as well. It's always been available, and it's very important you use the the right tools for your wine as well. I always say, you know what, a glass for me is wine is like music, you know.
Sure.
So glasses are speakers. Can you imagine playing music out of bed speakers? You know, you wouldn't actually enjoy your music.
Yeah.
So this is the champagne glass, which really opens up your bubbles, because sometimes you get these MCCs that have been left on the lees for about 18 to 24 months. So when you actually open that bottle of bubbly, you need to open it up. And this is like your international tasting glass that we use especially for our rosés, because this rosé is actually from the south of France. So it's a blend of Cinsault, Grenache, and some Syrah as well. So it's a serious rosé, but again it's a summer drink, of which I think that Riedel international glass really opens up the wine as well. So it's very important.
Please pour this for us, because sometimes you see champagne being poured as if it's beer, and like, and then you have all the
I always see a lot of people holding the glass, you know, like this, which I don't really suggest, you know. So you can easily pour your champagne. You take your time. You know,
and how much is too much?
Okay, so obviously at RMB WineX there will be a lot of wines, you know, and I've seen a lot of people just because they're so excited, they see their favorite wines, but it's a show to explore and try new wines that you've never tried before. So you don't have to really pour a lot of what is your favorite. Rather,
get as much.
Sure. Yeah. So can you imagine? Yeah. So it'll be like.
Karen, let's talk about the art initiative around this, though.
With pleasure. You will know that wine barrels generally that come from France. They're made out of French oak, and being a cooper in France is an incredible craft. I think people work as coopers. I think the apprenticeship may be as long as 7 years.
Sure.
So these extraordinary wine barrels are imported. They come into the country. They're used in the industry for up to 20 years, first with white wine, then with red wine. But the bottom line is they almost are a work of art themselves. And even the coopers have a sign-off, which is the way they actually, the sounds they make as they finish off their barrel and have a little tune. So what we thought was to take these barrels and then to bring South African artists and to ask them to paint the barrels or to do what they want to do with the barrels, to create, almost to collaborate with a French cooper. The initiative was started by South Hills, the vineyards, and they had these barrels on sale last year. In fact, they made their stand out of wine barrels, which were rather beautiful. RMB bought a barrel. We noticed they were all Cape artists. So I approached South Hills and I said, would you mind if we collaborated on this? And we chose some artists from this part of the world.
Sure.
And we got folk who work at the Bag Factory or August House, or people we've worked with at the RMB Turbine Art Fair. We got 10 young artists. They took the barrels home. In fact, they chose the barrels and had all sorts of different reasons for choosing the barrels. Took them home, and the 10 barrels that have come back are completely different. They did it over a month, and they're extraordinary artwork. So whether I think people would be interested in purchasing them for their cellars,
for sure,
using them as a table, as a landing spot for wine and glasses, or even outdoors with a little piece of glass. But fundamentally, it's a special artwork because it's a South African artist collaborating with a French artist in a sense, or artisan, and then you end up with these terrific works of art for your home or for a corporate.
Lovely. Michael, are you looking at expanding this perhaps to the rest of the continent?
Well, we'd like to, but there are some blocks, to be quite honest. First of all, the rest of the continent, just moving wine around a continent through different national borders is problematic. And so to get the samples to the audiences will be very difficult. I'm sure if the DTI assists us and we get support in other countries in the continent, we'd love to bring South African wine art, and all the joy that comes with our wine to the population of the most exciting continent on earth.
Most exciting continent on earth, without a doubt. I can't let you go without asking you your favorite wine.
Is that a question to me? My favorite wine is the wine in my glass at the time. And as Patston has pointed out at this time of the morning, it better be fizz.
I love that. I love it. Absolutely. Patston, so perhaps maybe let's end off with the rosé.
Yeah. Look, like I said, this is the 2016 by Haute Rosé, which is made by Domaine Haute from the south of France. It's a Côte de Provence. It's from the Provence region. That's originally where rosé started. Actually, you can actually look at the color of this rosé. Usually, if you go back to 5 to 6 years ago in South Africa, you would see most of our rosés were a little bit darker than this, of which I think South African winemakers have actually really improved in terms of making their rosés. This has got a beautiful pink salmon color, and on the nose, usually for me, I usually pick up, I usually pick up lots of strawberries, raspberries, a little bit of that melon flavor coming through, but very soft, very easy drinking, very refreshing on the palate.
Yeah.
This with a salmon sashimi, with horseradish cream and maybe some cucumber radish as well. This is really an outstanding pairing. But we'll be having sushi at the RMB WineX this year. So grab some rosé with some sushi or some champagne. It's a fantastic pairing.
The glass is very different to a red wine glass.
Yes.
Why is that? What's the difference?
Look, usually you will get your red wine glasses a little bit bigger because you want your red wine to breathe. You want it to open up as well. But like I said, for me, this is an international tasting glass. So obviously, when you go to a RMB WineX, you wouldn't actually go with different, let's say 4 different glasses for each varietal specific. But
unless you're truly committed to the cause.
So like I said, these glasses will be available at the Riedel stand this year, so you can actually come and hire a glass, and test all the wines available at RMB WineX this year. And I think it's going to be a fabulous show.
Patston, when I come, I'm going to be asking for you by name, because that experience on its own will be something else. Thank you very much for joining us. Michael, thank you for taking part in this conversation with us. Patston Matonsi and Carolyn Waterhouse. A great pleasure.
There is a lovely saying about champagne that says, in triumph, you deserve it. In defeat, you need it, which will allow us to drink it all the time, actually.
Always on occasion to have bubbles.
Absolutely.
Always on occasion. Thank you very much.